The time is 6:15. Here is the news edited by Dilini Gunawardana. Read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The responsibility of enhancing the security cooperation of the Indian Ocean regions is emphasized. 2 orders under the Civil Aviation Act and 13 orders under Merchant Ship Act are passed. Cabinet approval is granted to ratify Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The revised national policy on chronic non-communicable diseases is to be executed. India-Sri Lanka grid connection is to be implemented by 2030. Foreign news. Odisha tragedy. Death toll rises again as unclaimed bodies are to be embalmed. Sports news. Tennis. French Open 2023, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic aim to set up semi-final meeting. Local news in detail. Chief of Staff to the President and Senior Advisor on National Security Sagala Ratnayaka says that all the concerned parties should take the responsibility of enhancing the security cooperation of Indian Ocean region. He further commented on Sri Lanka's contribution to the security of the region and the steps that should be taken to ensure the security of the region. These views were expressed while he was taking part in the Shangri-La Dialogue on Regional Security in Singapore as the head of the Sri Lankan delegation. Security chiefs of many countries in the region, including China and India, addressed this conference. 2 orders under the Civil Aviation Act and 13 orders under Merchant Ship Act were passed at the Parliament today. MP Mahindananda Alutgamage said that the facilities of the Sri Lankan Airlines should be upgraded. Approximately 1 million tourists are expected during the year. MP S. Marika said that the Pradesh Sabha is affected by the bureaucracy due to the postponement of local government elections. MP Rohita Abbe Gunawardana said that some are still trying to create chaos in the country, even though the country is returning to normalcy gradually. MP Maitripala Sirisena requested the government to table the report of the committee appointed to investigate on the corruption and irregularities of the Sri Lankan Airlines. Joining the debate, Minister Susil Premjayantha said that 2,070 vacancies exist in the academic staff of local universities. He further added that plans are underway to recruit retired lecturers to fill the existing vacancies. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to ratify the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, and to take the necessary steps to legislation to enforce the provisions of the agreement of the treaty's member states to ban any nuclear weapons test or other nuclear explosions anywhere in the world. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on 10th of September 1996. By the treaty, member states agreed to ban any nuclear weapons test or other nuclear explosions anywhere in the world. So far, 186 countries have signed the agreement and 177 countries have ratified the agreement. Sri Lanka signed the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty on 24th of October 1996. However, Sri Lanka is currently cooperating with the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization in the areas of training, capacity development, data and information sharing. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, the Cabinet has approved publishing the revised national policy and strategic framework for the prevention and control of chronic non-communicable diseases in Sri Lanka in the Government Gazette and to implement it. The Department of Government Information said diseases like heart disease, stroke, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases and diabetes are the major causes of deaths due to non-communicable disease in Sri Lanka, noting that these diseases cause around 120,000 deaths every year. Tobacco use, unhealthy alcohol consumption, obesity, high blood pressure, high blood sugar and high blood cholesterol have been identified as the main contributing factors to these diseases. The first national policy for the prevention of non-communicable diseases was published in 2009. Taking these matters into account, the newly revised policy was drafted in consultation with all relevant parties by evaluating and reviewing the policy published in 2009. Sri Lanka's Minister of Power and Energy said that the India-Sri Lanka grid connection will be implemented by 2030. Minister Vijay Sekhar tweeted, regional energy integration has been discussed for more than 2 decades and the government has made it a priority to implement the India-Sri Lanka grid connection by 2030. He said the World Bank has been assisting the Ceylon Electricity Board to understand the technical requirements and business models to implement the project. He said he discussed the plans related to energy integration and renewable energy development with the World Bank's Director of Regional Integration, Cecily Fruman, and Country Manager Chio Kanda. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Sri Lanka's health minister said that prices of medicines will drop by 16% from the 15th of June. Health Minister Keheli Rambukwala said that a gazette will be issued stating that the price of 60 types of medicines will be reduced. He said thereafter the prices of other medicines are also expected to drop. That came to you on Main News Story.
The Main News Story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the examination department requests the candidates appearing for the GCE ordinary level examination to call the hotline 117 if they are facing a disaster situation due to the prevailing rainy weather and need assistance. Commissioner General of Examination Amit Jayasundara informs the exam candidates to pay close attention to disaster situations and take steps to deal with them in advance. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, headlines first. Odisha tragedy, death toll rises again as unclaimed bodies are to be embalmed. President Zelensky says Ukraine cannot be stopped with water, missiles or anything else. Quiet waters in parliamentary polls in hope of ending deadlocks. World news in detail. The death toll in the Odisha train crash has risen to 278 as 3 more people succumbed to their injuries, according to Railway Ministry data. About 1,100 people were injured in the accident, out of which about 900 people were discharged after treatment. Meanwhile, a hospital is to start embalming the unidentified victims, with more than 100 bodies still yet to be claimed by families. Anatomy and forensic experts were called to engage in the process of preserving the bodies at the hospital's overstretched mortuary. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that the attack on the dam in Novokokhovka shows that Russian troops must be expelled from every corner of Ukrainian land. Writing on Telegram, Zelensky said that the terrorists will not be able to stop Ukraine, missiles or anything else. He further added that Ukraine's victory alone will return security. Zelensky also shared that all services continue to work despite the damage. Russia has denied carrying out the attack on the dam. Voters in Kuwait have started to cast their ballots in the 7th legislative election in just over a decade, following repeated political crises that have undermined parliament and stalled reforms. A total of 207 candidates, including opposition figures, and 13 women are running for a 4-year term as lawmakers. Kuwait is the only Gulf Arab state to have an elected parliament with powers to hold the government to account. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Odisha tragedy, death toll rises again as unclaimed bodies are to be embalmed. President Zelensky says Ukraine cannot be stopped with water, missiles or anything else. Kuwait votes in Parliament polls in hope of ending deadlock. That ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
The International Committee of Red Cross ICRC and the Sri Lankan Red Cross Society SLRCS collaborated to provide emergency relief assistance to 11,850 vulnerable low-income families impacted by the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. The collaboration also supported the Sri Lankan healthcare system with the donation of essential medical supplies. The families were selected from 12 districts in Sri Lanka based on the food security assessment conducted at household level by the SLRCS in consultation with the relevant authorities. That came to you on Development News.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 500 500.
Moving on to sports news, world number one Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic will aim to set up a tantalizing French Open semi-final encounter at Roland Garros. On Tuesday, US Open winner Alcaraz plays Greek fifth seed Stefanos Tsitsipas in their night match on court Felipe Chatrier. Djokovic continues his bid for the second 23rd men's Grand Slam title against Russian 11th seed Karen Khachanov. In the women's quarterfinals, Belarusian's second seed Ariana Sabalenka meets Ukrainian Zelina Svitolina. The winner of that match will play Russian Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova or Czech opponent Karolina Mukhova, who are first up on Felipe Chatrier. That ends the sports news.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In a shared mission to drive positive change and progress in Sri Lanka, Dialogue Exeter PLC, Sri Lanka's premier connectivity provider, and Japan International Cooperation Agency entered into a strategic partnership to embark on a range of social development projects. This collaboration aims to amplify the impact of the number of ongoing projects across sectors such as power, water and sanitation, agriculture, disaster risk management, governance and social services. That ends Business News.
Business News sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, at the invitation of the IMF, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently briefed key representatives of the IMF on recent economic developments in Sri Lanka and the impact on the country's economic trajectory. The meeting also provided an opportunity for the IMF to gain insights into the perspectives of the business community regarding recent economic developments in the island. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western and sub-Ragama provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 mm are likely at some places in the Sabaragamulla province and in the Gol, Mathura and Kaluthara districts. Several special showers will occur in the northwestern province. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the Uva and central provinces and in Ampara and Batticaloa districts during the evening or night. Strong winds, about 40 to 45 km per hour, can be expected at times in north and north-central provinces and in the Hambantota, Putlam and Trincomalee districts. That ends with the report. To wrap up the evening news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The responsibility of enhancing the security cooperation of the Indian Ocean region is emphasized. 2 orders under the Civil Aviation Act and 13 orders under Merchant Ship Act are passed. Cabinet approval is granted to ratify Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The revised national policy on chronic non-communicable diseases to be executed. India-Sri Lanka grid connection is to be implemented by 2030. Foreign news, Odisha tragedy, death toll rises again as unclaimed bodies are to be embalmed. Sports news, tennis, French Open 2023. Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic aim to set up semi-final meeting. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka.